to share a blueprint for the rural revival in Kathiwada. And since we were discussing that permaculture is at the heart of everything that we are doing because of the sustainability core value, these are the models that localize and organize. When I heard Mr. Richard in the last session, I was a bit overwhelmed that he's doing such a large impact. And then I remember Dr. Debel, who mentioned in the session before that small farms and family farms are more productive than mega farms. And I felt very, very encouraged by that. And I thought I should really share our personal story with all of you because it is unique, which doesn't mean it is better. It's just different and it is more specific to who we are and what we do and the opportunity we had to impact change. So ours is originally a family farm that became very productive and involved community, and it has been documented and well acknowledged by many agricultural institutes, important institutes, as much as United Nations, that small farms can then bring in community and it builds a chain and has an ethos around that. Having said that, ours is literally a multi-generational approach because it was started by my great grandfather, who was the then Maharaja, the ruler, who had who had all the power to do what he wanted, but he chose the power to actually green his entire area. He was an amazing forester who actually did not tax his people. He was the ruling king, right? He could have taxed his people, but instead he said that I would tax you by labor. And he would take thousands of people on horseback to plant thousands of trees because he could. He had to just call the people saying, I'm not charging you any revenue, but you come and give labor. And that labor could be used for destruction or construction. So he chose to plant trees. Having said that, my father-in-law, Rana Jayendra Singh, had to deal actually with the forest department and build better relationships because by this time the states were merged with the democratic India. Then I got married into the family 40 years ago, and along with my husband, Yuvraj Bharat Singh, he and I started On Our Lands Floriculture to keep the lands alive because we came from city, we had city education, and now we are sitting there in this rural India with inherited abundance of land but not knowing what to do. So as we understood, we started with floriculture, and therefore we grew flowers for Harrods and Harvey Nichols back in the day so that we would keep our land alive. Going forward, along with my uncle's support with Murarka Foundation, I got deep involved in organic farming 25 years ago, whereby we did vermicompost. So his foundation, Murarka Foundation, that I was a director on, supported me financially to do the vermicompost in central India, which was already a great success in Rajasthan, which is where the foundation headquarters were. What I could not do was convince all the farmers around me to leave their land fallow, which is very, very important for soil health. So the vermicompost work, but the leaving the land fallow is something I could not convince the farmers, which Murarka Foundation could because it was an economically very, very rich foundation. And they could pay 150,000 farmers to leave the land fallow and grow organically and buy back their goods and produce to sell to the cities. So that became an extremely successful organization and something that even the prime minister of the country acknowledged and created models to be copied. Well, then comes my son, Digvijay Singh Kathiwada. Can you believe it? He went to California to study, but he came right back to Kathiwada. And I'm so grateful for that he founded Kathiwada Foundation. So then he founded this to actually develop his urban development policy making, education towards the rural development, and has done a fantastic job, which I will show you and run through it slightly fast because we have time constraint. So this is a land where he started. He donated 30 acres of his father's land to create permaculture and designed a self-sustaining rural ecosystem. Going forward in a very systematic manner, what he brought to the land, which I could not back in the day, is that he did technical studies, analysis, soil, water, seed. So did all the soil testing with the texture, organic matter, pH levels, erosion risk. He did the geological assessment, water flow and drainage observation, climate data collection. I mean, it's been a lot of work. He involved about 50 to 60 people just to study different areas of the land, ecological survey on wildlife and vegetation, and sector and zonation mapping. As you'll see that there are all the graphs which are there. It's a systematic understanding is for everybody to see. And why I'm sharing this is so that people could emulate this. If there are small farmers, it's easy for them to understand that what needs to be done so that they can reach a stage and apply the education or the systems that have already been set by Digvijay. So why do we have medium black soil in Kathiwada? It was, after doing all the studies, they saw that because we are surrounded by basalt and granite rocks, it gives us black clay and red sand soil. Now, it is very important for any farmer to know the condition of the soil, the health of the soil, and then depending on what the soil is, that's when then they must plant what is natural to the land, what is native, so that it's resilient. Because in case I wanted to grow, say, strawberries here, it's not going to work. And why should I bring strawberries when I can grow mangoes, or I can grow pulses and rice, which is a local crop that's been growing for many years. So the soil assessment and documentation was done, and we realized that the food forest that we have created for a proper food system, that zone has the soil which you see in the middle glass, which is not as rich as the ideal forest soil, but it helps to grow the food forest and create all the food that's useful for that entire community there. Going down below, there were lots of understanding. We found that it was a silty loam soil and how it can hold moderate amount of water. What was the status of the nutrients? We had to really bring in a lot of organic matter to enhance the nutrient availability. So this is something that today's times can do, because back in the day, there was not so much good connectivity. Even transport systems were not available. So if there is a good study and we know that the parent material is lacking of some sort of a nutrient, then that can be enhanced, that can be brought in, and that can be all organic nutrient. The topsoil depth was determined, and then the erosion risks were checked into, so that if there is erosion, you know how the erosion is happening, because coming down the slope, and then they did the use of contour planting, became very, very important to cover the crop and to stabilize the soil. Otherwise, the soil was eroding because it came from the slope, as was also discussed, I think, in one of our last meetings. So then the foundation's initiatives were to support the local species plantation and natural mulching. So whatever the people were used to doing for several generations was also used as the traditional wisdom and knowledge, but a lot more of the technology and understanding was brought in to understand the deep-rooted species, which would help not erode the area. Composting was done in zone 1, and therefore they also decided to do minimal tillage, so that to maintain the soil structure. Otherwise, with the tilling, which farmers do so easily and so fast with now 3 seasons a year, that the soil structure doesn't remain healthy. So this has led to now visibly improved soil health. And the riverbed protection plan is a huge plan. The seeds have been sown, the saplings of riparian zone have been brought in. And to hold a river together is one of the biggest challenges, and requiring of a lot of energy and expense. But Digvijay has taken on this mantle, and he's doing a great job. It's slow but it's sure, and it is yielding good result. And when this kind of natural mulching and planting happen and composting happen, you won't believe what happened. The whole community came along. They were so happy to see the result, that the soil became so rich, and then the entire community wanted to sow organically, because they now could see right in front of their eyes. And no farmer died of depression. They are all very happy because from the soil you get this vacay MVAC, which comes from the soil, which sends transmitters to the brain for happiness. It releases a serotonin. So all of you should come and farm with me. Uh, I'm changing my middle name to Sangita Farmer Kathiwada. So, so the community got involved, and they're always happy, and they're singing, and they're dancing, and they're planting. And as you can see, the river, there was a lot of theft of the sand for construction, which is happening all over the world, and the river was eroding, but it is now started to heal with the efforts being made by the foundation, and it is still healing. You can see that it's a pretty spot, and our house is quite close to this. From the terrace we can see this river, so you're all welcome. So what were the efforts which were made that keep, they had to do various studies, and they saw where the natural flow of water was, where was it running off, there were collection points, and what were the natural drainage patterns, so that the whole analysis revealed lots of opportunities on how to capture this rainwater in low-lying areas. How much time do I have? And therefore, the foundation, I have 5 minutes. Foundation initiatives were to create swales, gully plugs, pond construction, bamboo grove with stone pitching. I won't waste too much time on it. It's quite self-explanatory that the rainwater harvesting was done in a very systematic manner, where now we are able to retain 30% more water in the area by these efforts made by Digvijay and his core team. And the way the land is designed, which is more of my interest, the management plan, that it is developed in a way that it will encourage the bees, birds, and humans to learn and become part of this growing, thriving ecosystem. I don't think we can talk about food systems in isolation. I think everything, all micro organisms, the people, the visitors, everybody should have a takeaway, and therefore the way this is developed is there are water bodies, walkways, cycling tracks have been thoughtfully designed. So when all of you come, you could either walk or you could cycle and take away something as a happy access across an interaction, instead of a teaching method whereby you put somebody in a classroom and teach them, and lot of what we are doing just now. So it is to actually bring people to the ground and offer them this study in a interactive manner. So the foundation, one of the major initiative, which we all know that crop diversity is a very important part of food systems. And what people have done, like in Punjab, they actually cut off all the forest to grow food, which is the biggest growing state in the country. They don't have snakes anymore. And snakes are such an important part of food systems for the growth, for all the. And they said, we just want land to grow food. So get rid of rats and snakes and the bees, and, put DTT. And so that's a very sad thing, which everybody should remain aware of, that in trying to grow food, we should not forget the forest. So there is a food forest, different zones have been created, and you can see our vegetable mandala. It gives us really wonderful organic vegetables. They are so delicious and so, right there, fresh and succulent, right in front of you to pluck and cook and eat. So I'll try and close this in 4 minutes. What I'm very excited about personally, while Digvijay looks after the whole foundation and does the land management, I mean, I'm very happy that it's multi-generational, and I come in with what I want to do, since I have the art and design background, and I'm, of course, totally believe in sustainability. I really want to I think that environmental studies should take center stage across all disciplines, whether it is art or craft or architecture, science or social sciences, and technology, because this is the really a pressing need. I have followed this for last 31 years without knowing that one day we'll reach a place of climate action initiatives. I just by instinct started my fashion house 31 years ago, where we had a no plastic policy. And so I really want to create something where people can have an academic learning by the medium of nature, culture, and agriculture. And so this would be a dedicated learning center. So while we have the forest around us, which is 200 square kilometer of forest, which was developed by my great grandfather-in-law, then taken over by the government and is now being looked after by the government. We are doing all that we can do to look after the forest for reforestation. Within this system, I would love to set up an academic learning system through nature and culture and agriculture, because there's so much to learn. Just as Harvard and Yale, they also offer certified short-term courses. But when you go to Harvard and Yale, you're sitting in a classroom and learning this, understanding ecology through study of ancient tribal cultures and the interrelationship of all life, including the food, because there would be no life if we didn't have food and water. So I mean, that is done in a classroom, and through technology, I actually want to bring people to the land to have, to understand the importance of trees and microorganisms for food systems. Because if we cut off our forest to grow our food, I don't think that's a good example. And as you know, that as Indians, we come from one of the world's richest forest culture, the oldest and the richest forest culture. We also worship mountains, rivers, all are during our festivals, stones, like you would have seen, shivlings, and trees are worshipped at different times in different time of the year towards harvesting. And it's all extremely scientifically rich, because it at the time when the planetary positions come together, so it's rain and it's water and it's the sun, so that's all the reciprocal relationship. So you can see the cosmic tree on the left is symbolizing a living system that connects all the realms for great food systems, the mineral, the fungal, the animal, human, and divine. We can't forget the divine in all this. And you won't believe that stories of such trees have been recorded across all of America, Asia, India, Africa, Middle East, and Europe. There's a deep to mythology that I think everybody's attracted to. So it would be great to have a learning center through mythology and through ecology. So this center will showcase real trees and plants alongside artistic interpretations, as you see this tree on the left, through botanical art and installations, with a focus on learning the benefits of each part of the tree and its medicinal values. If you see one tree, then you see some food, and all that would be beautifully illustrated. So the indoor will show you the exhibition, and outdoor will show you the real tree. Ecology will be understood through religiosity and ritualistic practices. For example, during harvest time, they have certain types of drinks, certain types of rituals, and they're all scientific. Please do not get it wrong. There is no superstitious belief in this. We bring that on. These are very, very healthy practices and customs, and we would like to bring them forefront for people to enjoy. For example, doing any kind of a puja and worship, and what is the meaning behind it. What I'm personally also interested in is no wastage scheme. So we are talking to people that when we have surplus food growth, and which I hope we will have soon, there should be no wastage. As Richard talked about it, I think, in the last session about extra tomatoes. We had a problem of extra watermelon because it's not native to our area. I would love to have an agro product unit so that we must use the food so that it's not wasted and can be made into a product. And and see small farmers initiatives can do this very easily. So we would like to have a little education around it on how you can convert the food that's going to be wasted into things to use for future. And this all would absolutely lead to community building. As you can see, I think female farmers are wonderful. With all the males are too. But you know, all these wonderful women you see around me, they're so sensitive to the land. They are so careful when I say no plastic. They agree to bring a cloth bag. So I think we must really, really encourage female farmers to be equal partners in everything in farming community and in growing food, and build community ethos. Having said that, I really encourage all of you to come, get involved, make a difference, join my hand, grow a tree, plant fruits, and come back to eat the fruit, literally.